Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to your reading. I have had the most relaxing, my hair is looking crazy, by the way, but just the most chill day. Sometimes in life you just gotta sit around and do nothing. One of those days where I just woke up and I was like, I'm probably gonna do absolutely nothing. Still haven't even cooked dinner. It's like really, really late, but had some nuts. But I knew that I would do at least one reading very late, and here I am. So this is my my first work of any sort today, but usually this is very good for my readings because my mind has been very hasn't been preoccupied, so I can really focus on this. So everything is looking good, lighting is good, microphone has been tested. Let's make sure the volume is not too high. Let's go more like that. Okay. Distance. I think this is better. Cool. So anyways, okay, your last name is hidden. Lisa. So let's go ahead and share to start off the screen. And let's see what we see. Aquarius rising, conjunct Black Moon Lillith on the rising. Interesting. I haven't seen very much of that. That's very, very interesting. Moon in Taurus in the 4th house. Sun in Leo, conjunct the Descendant. So right on the 7th house cusp at 25 Leo. Interesting. That's a very interesting degree of Leo that we'll have to talk about. Yeah. So before I actually do that, I want to pull up. I want to pull something up. It's just this article. Okay, yeah, got it. So yeah, Mercury's close by to the sun. Then after that's that Leo 7th house. We have an 8th house with Virgo, Venus, Pluto, Uranus, Vertex. Then another sign, we got back-to-back signs. We have Libra, Mars at 29 degrees, which is a critical degree, a very karmic degree. So I have a feeling that the Mars function is going to be highlighted in the chart. We'll see if I'm right. Let's see if it has any square to the nodes or anything with the nodes. It does not. However, Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto do. Then, okay, 10th house Neptune, midheaven the 11th in Sag, conjunct the South Node, midheaven conjunct the South Node, which means North Node conjunct the IC, which is super interesting. Lots of action on angles, but it's not planetary points on angles. It's a planetary point would be an actual planet. It's Black Moon Lillith is not an actual planet. It's a calculation based on the apogee of the moon, and so is the North Node, South Node. So yeah, 2nd house energy in Pisces, yet Saturn in Chiron. So you're born in 65. Okay. All right. So first things first, what's going on with the sun and the moon? Well, they're both in fixed signs, so they're squaring each other elementally. One, moon in Taurus, sun in Leo. I don't really spend so much time. I'm gonna get my face back in here. Okay, so I don't like to spend so much time talking about the sun sign. However, I do need to talk about 25 degrees of Leo, and make what you will of it. But I'm going to be reading this from that article I was pulling up. Because it's a very violent degree. It's a degree with a very difficult reputation. Now remember, astrology is all it's all free will, and you don't have any difficult aspects from your sun to, like, for example, there's no square with Pluto or anything like really, really difficult. and it's in Leo, right? So any Leo sun, but I'm just telling you what I know. So 25 degrees of Leo is violent, and some who have this are imprisoned for violent crimes, especially those with their chart rulers on this degree, which your chart ruler is not. You're not Leo rising. Your chart ruler is Uranus. Okay. In addition, it's not a good degree for predictive astrology. Doesn't matter. Problems result from this placement according to the affairs it rules and or house it's in, which is relationships. So this could have to do with like violence in relationships, romantic relationships or partnerships. This is a very strong degree for alcoholism. Many who are chronic alcoholics have prominent planets on the 25th degree of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius. The influence is especially strong if Neptune is involved, which I was looking earlier, and Neptune is it's loosely square the sun, so meaning that it's like it's 8 degrees away, which I would count. So Neptune is involved. So not many astrologers, I mean, some of them will see that and understand. I mean, 25 degrees right now, you're probably feeling very activated because there's a lot of cosmic energy at 25 degrees. But yeah, so it's known as a difficult place to have, a planet. But the fact that it is Leo, what can happen with these types of placements is that it can be something that you're born in 65, so there's probably lots of healing, lots of growth, and maybe that didn't resonate at all. This is just based on my research. There's some degrees, and it's with any fixed planet at 25. But you do have it 20, like nearly 26, right? 29.54. So if you're born like, I don't know, 20 minutes later or less, like it would be 26 degrees, and some people round up. So that's what kind of complicates the matter. But you do have your descendant there, which would signify that maybe it's like partners, like toxic partners. And I usually, when it's like it's something from the past, when it has to do with a client of mine born in 65, she's been through, he or she has typically worked through a lot of the difficult stuff. But I don't know. I know you didn't schedule a follow-up. If you decide to, let me know. I can give you a $20 reduction on that, and we can chat about that and chat about like most people get the follow-up sessions. I say it every reading because it gives us a chance to talk live and to really try to dig deep and try to understand like what that means compared with your lived experience. Now, moving forward, so Sun and Leo, aside from that, obviously we know about our Sun sign Leo in 7th house. It's very passionate. It's the heart of the, it's Leo. I don't like to talk about sun signs. I don't want to waste my energy on it. Like, you get it. You know what Leo is. It's a very good gregarious sign. It's very passionate. It's a fire sign, so it's all about action. It's all about adventure. It's fixed fire, so it's able to, along with your fixed moon in Taurus, able to really start things and then kind of continue with them. Fixing its purpose. It feels like it has a special purpose in this world, which definitely goes well with your Aquarius rising, which is actually like in direct opposition. So this is what's really interesting about your chart, is that I said that 25-degree marker, right? I said if it's 25 degrees in Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, or Aquarius, and your ascendant is also 25 degrees. So in Aquarius, exactly opposing your sun. So I hope you book a follow-up or at least like tell me like how that resonates, because there could be some karma here around that energy of that difficult 25-degree energy. So yeah, Leo people, they have to learn the lesson around not being too obsessed with themselves, basically, like kind of getting away from like narcissism and making sure that they are shining for the right reasons. And basically, yeah, moving towards authentic self-expression, as opposed to like the perfect metaphor for this is like, I am doing whatever I'm doing in life, not for the views, not for the fame, not for the external validation. It's all about internal validation, making people smile, making people laugh, being that bright light, that, you know, whether you're an entrepreneur or someone, you know, being someone who lives life according to their own rules, which is like, you know, totally in line with your rising. Now I'm looking for more. I'm looking through my notes. My notes meaning like stuff, like just stuff all over my computer. About this 25-degree stuff. You know, 15-degree Leo is also I would say a lot of people would say more difficult. I'm trying to find new energy, or excuse me, new information. Okay, I have all that. But you know, like I say that to you right now, and I'll tell you right now, I have scat. Like my sun is conjunct scat, and that star, what that says is extreme misfortune, suicide, drowning, murder, rapidly gaining and losing friends, unpredictable nature, inclined to fantasize. So it's like there's always the high and the low energy of each fixed star, each planetary point. So this is what one person said in this forum. I know 2 people with that degree, along, and it says along with some other major negative, scary / doom and gloom ones, and they have went the opposite direction end of the spectrum. Furthest thing from serial killer you could imagine, which is the intuition. I clearly get a view, and it ended up being extremely religious and spiritual, kind and sensitive, almost to a fault. Interesting, huh? Then we should be careful not to make blanket statements based on astrology stereotypes. There's billions of people on the planet. I can't even guess how many have 15 and 25-degree Leo. I seriously doubt they're all violent or spiritual. Good point. This is exactly why I never bought into Sabian symbols. I think I read somewhere that it was one person that made them up not too long ago. Okay. Okay, so here's someone who actually has it, and very similar to you. So it says maybe Saturn inhibits the killer bit, question mark. But seriously, my sun is a joke. My sun is at 25 degrees Leo, and I have a prominent Neptune, as in every planet aspects to it. Wow, that's like way more than you. It's also the focal point of a yod. It's also the base of another, and helps to form the base of Thor's hammer. I'm not an alcoholic or violent, but I am an astrologer. You see, so with a lot of these, like even with Algol, with a lot of these like really difficult points, like when you actually take the spiritual route, it can be like extreme spiritualism. It can be like the complete opposite. And there's always these misconceptions. So this is why I'm like digging deeper into this, right? So I'm not an alcoholic or violent, but I'm an astrologer. So there's probably like with this 25 Leo, it's very close to Regulus too. So there's probably this very it's also, what's the other one? Hydra. So Hydra, 28 degrees, I have that rising, right? So this is actually very close to my rising sign, is like literally the astrologer. So yeah, if I didn't have any my children, I could probably be an alcoholic. Violence, I have one heck of a temper, but with Mars and Taurus, it's like waiting for Yellowstone to blow. Active degree, blah, blah. I think you need to err on the side of caution with any fatalistic interpretations. Very well said. Okay. So okay, so this is basically, you know, it's telling us that, and I'm looking just really quickly. Yeah, so basically, like we have to look at the whole chart. That's kind of obvious, but you know, it's very, very important. And when you have you know, your Taurus moon, which is I don't like to say best or worst in astrology, but a very, very strong moon placement, someone who's very in touch somatically, who's able to meet their emotional needs. They have this real emotional need for security, and they tend to put themselves in the right situations with the right people where they're able to meet that. They're very earthy. They like to use their hands. Like Taurus moon, I always say, it's the best cook, the best gardener, that person that just like loves to be around earth energy, and you feel so nurtured from that, right? And having Leo and Taurus though can make one very, very stubborn. Just like those two together. I imagine that if there wasn't a divorce between your parents, that there was like some real difficulty, like in terms of their two worldviews being very, very different, and that leading you to. I always give the metaphor I did make it up though, of like we're a ship. So when we have a moon square sun, it's like we're one ship, and it's like there's two captains both trying to go separate ways, right? So that can be difficult. One part of you being very extroverted, the other part being very introverted. So that is that. Let's see here. So yeah, there's lots of like difficult, like even this person, I have Venus at 15, Leo. I'm a vegetarian, will not kill spiders even. Having said that, Hitler was a vegetarian too. Still, I do not think I would be inclined to kill anyone unless that person was after my family. I feel like I have a hard luck, but many times I feel really lucky. So I think it could be more in relation to like relationships. Potentially like earlier in life, you may have like, or maybe still, I don't know, like attracted like the wrong types, that maybe there's some violence there. Maybe that because it is on your descendant, which is the part of the chart that marks other, like that marks the partner. That's maybe what it could be. But also, on a higher spectrum, like they said, like it could be very, very spiritual placement. And when we have difficult markers in our chart, we tend to kind of go against them. And you're obviously, I don't know anything about you on purpose. I purposely make sure not even though we did chat, I purposely like clear my, like make sure, because it has been since the 18th of last month. So, close to a month. I don't even know the date today. Literally a month. So it's like, yeah, like I've cleared out all my thoughts of who you are, basically. Because I've done so many charts since then, and I haven't like looked, even though like we had messaged very briefly today. I purposely don't look at it. So yeah, so that's kind of what I see there. So yeah, with that relating to you being in the seventh house, obviously like a big part of your life is learning about yourself through relationships. There can definitely be this like on one end, like kind of like this real fog and confusion when it comes to relationships. Also, mentioning like the issues with substances potentially, like you might be someone who's I could totally see you being someone who like is like sober and who's always been sober, or maybe someone who struggled at some point, but that's what the Neptune square sun on 25-degree Leo point would indicate. Yeah, so basically the moon Taurus, square, not square, but elementally squaring the sun in Leo. There's a part of you that wants to not take risks. There's a part of you, and it's opposite. Okay, so you have that. Yeah, you have a T square between sun, moon, and Neptune, and the apex of it is the sun. So basically, it's like literally saying that the way out, and no, you have a square, meaning you have. Well, actually, no, it doesn't count. It doesn't count. It depends if we can count it. It's just like because your sun's at 25, your moon's at 13. That's a 12-degree, but it is sun and moon. So I'm going to count it just because those are 2 points that you can give way larger orbs. I think some astrologers give it's like 15-degree orbs for, especially when sun square moon. You can give a big orb for that because it's so important. Some might even like say like you can give the entire sign just because it's just elemental. It's the energy of it. So, moon opposite Neptune, it means that Neptune is afflicting your chart like extremely, right? Both parts, the masculine and feminine part of you. And then it's also like literally, this is crazy. You have Neptune square your ascendant. Your big three are all affected by Neptune. It's square your ascendant and your sun, right? Because they're opposing each other. I need to share this again just to illustrate the craziness of this. Wow, I've never seen something like this. So you have right here Neptune, 17, right? Scorpio. And then it's squaring your sun, not exact, but still it's a square. It's also squaring your ascendant at 25 over here, Aquarius. And then it's opposing your moon, right? Like your moon at 13 degrees Taurus. So it's like it's hitting in a difficult aspect or a hard aspect every single one of your big three. And also your Mercury, right? Another personal planet is being afflicted by it, right? Because it's squaring your Mercury too. So that's 4 out of the 6 personal planets. So like Mars, there's no connection with Neptune and Mars. And it's also, in a more, this is a more like, this is a, you definitely say is like a good aspect, like a very good for imagination, for creativity, but it's also aspecting your Venus. So every single personal planet has an aspect besides Mars to Neptune. So what is Neptune? What can Neptune do when it has this effect? Well, basically, there's tons of resolution around seeing life. Like, I feel like this full moon was very, very like I made a video about this past full moon. I feel like it was very, very close to your natal energy, at least from what I'm seeing so far, where it's about seeing past illusions and seeing things for how they really, seeing and feeling things for how they really are. So to start off with the sun, it's really about, being able to see yourself, being able to like kind of have the ego strength. And like a lot of people that have this, they'll have very false ideas of who they are. Like which can make really different, like lots of like fog, like in saunas or steam rooms, there's all that fog, or just in fog in a city, whatever. But like, I don't know, like the steam room came to my mind. It's like that comes up, and it's just like, it makes it very hard for you to have like a true assessment. And this is more when you're young, by the way. Squares and oppositions, they get way easier with age. But I do birth charts the same way. I just did like two 6-year-olds, or 2-year-old, 6-year-old, and 7-year-old. I don't know exactly their age, but 3 kids, it doesn't, 30-year-old, 35-year-old, 35-year-old the other day. So I'm all over the map. I do them exactly the same. And maybe the kids I do a little bit different. But with Neptune, so it's going to really, really have or still fog the way you see yourself. So it's really, really important, like with Neptune, to practice in front of like mirrors, or maybe film yourself. Do things where you're able to get like recording yourself, like, because like Neptune is ruled, it does rule cameras, it rules mirrors, reflections, stuff like that. Which can also, be like metaphorically, a mirror can be like in a relationship, right? Or a therapeutic relationship, which, by the way, if you ever need therapy, I do astrological-based therapy. Just want to probably let people know that in every reading, just because very few people know that that's actually something I do. And I have 2 master's degrees in psychology. But, you very well could be a psychologist too. Just saying that, like, that just came out of intuition. But anyways, so with the Neptune energy, it really makes it difficult. It can create self-esteem issues. It can create situations, especially since it's squaring a 7th house sun, where there can be like some codependence in relationships, and feelings of confusion when it comes to like seeing the person for who they really are, where you might see their potential as opposed to like who they are and where they're really at, which can kind of speak to what I was saying before about the 25-degree Leo and maybe some darkness you may have experienced through relationships. And let's see. Yeah, so Neptune is all over the place. And it's not like you have a chart that has so many aspects. It's like it really is Neptune. So when I see that, and then when I see that, to me, it's always an indication of someone who, let's see this here, who's really meant to focus on that. right? As opposed to like someone who's meant to have all these different aspects. So like defeating Neptune, it has to do with coming to a, well, first of all, it's high spiritualism, which makes me think that like maybe their word thing, because like it has to do with high spiritualism or healthy escapism is a better way of putting it. So what can happen is that there can be, I can create an individual who, basically spends, I just switch my face back, who spends a lot of their life trying to find an escape, right? Because and the key is like having that escape be a healthy one. So relationships can definitely be difficult, as opposed to the opposition, and the fact that it squares Mercury too. Let's start with that actually. That creates like I don't mention names, but someone very close to me has this, and it can create lots of confusion in terms of like paranoia, like the mind, like not like it makes a super artistic person, but it can kind of create like a seeing the world through like a different lens than what's real. Especially like the more logical, factual world, it can really distort things. So it can have a very adverse effect on relationships, right? Where you can feel really misunderstood, or there can be these misunderstandings, like literal ones, like in conversation, where you think the person means something that they didn't. But also it creates this like very magic, like witch energy, where you can be like the master of illusions and tricks, and very, very creative energy, and such a vivid imagination as well. But it's like you're very, very good at like the high abstract, like philosophical, abstract was a better word than philosophical, not from what I'm trying to like paint, like metaphoric ways of communication and thinking. But then like the more obvious, everyday stuff can be difficult, like focusing on the basics of language, and while on the higher level you do well. So like for example, like putting together an IKEA couch can just feel like the worst thing in the world for someone with this type of thing. So yeah, this can create like lots of anxiety, mental or nervous nature when young, because you can really feel misunderstood. Where it can create someone who can really cope, and this is just with the whole chart, where you cope with all this Neptune energy by going into your fantasies, right, into the fantasy world. Very, very sensitive to criticism, also rejection. So it's really important, like for someone with a chart like yours, to tune into the higher energy of Neptune, which is that high creativity, that divine art, right? That ability to like to find that thing that you're really, really passionate about, that you love to do, that makes time freeze, and to just do it. Like, yeah, I would be very excited if I found out that you were, and it doesn't, like if you were an artist or something like that, or if you found like a very good outlet, but like it doesn't even have to be that. It can be anything. It can even be just like enjoying the arts, right? So it's also really important not to like become involved in like lies, fraud, scandals, conspiracy theories, cults, abusing drugs and alcohol. These are all already weaknesses. So I'd say someone with your chart is just literally better to just avoid all substances altogether. But I'm sure at your age and your level of maturity, you probably have figured that stuff out. So yeah, so then the fact that like, there's just no break, the fact that square is the ascendant, can kind of make it so like you are not what you seem to other people. Like your personality, your outer personality can take on like a very like very hard to read, hard to predict, very confusing energy. It also squares your descendant, so that same energy comes up in relationships. Like it once again, it's like a huge struggle with identity. Like this is like major identity crisis energy, right? Like where you misperceive people's messages, and like what they mean to you, and the bond you might have. And it can create lots of paranoia and lack of trust in relationships, right? And because of this, it could have made like very tense parent relationships with your parents, right? So yeah, it can make you really sensitive to like verbal and even nonverbal communication. Like you're someone who's like a master at like reading like facial expressions, body language, all that stuff. It's like even more than important than words. And yeah, very hyper aware, right? And yeah, it can really kind of create kind of like the Mercury one, where like messages get kind of like confused, right? So like with anything like misunderstandings, gossip, lying, fear, suspicion, all these things can really like make it like ruin close relationships and make it really hard to connect with people on a deeper level. But it's really important to use others as a mirror to judge yourself, because you'll have a lack of clarity about your own identity. You might even feel embarrassed about being yourself, right? And when I say you, I'm talking about like the younger version of you, probably, but this is just the chart, as I said before. I'm not a sugarcutter astrologer. I literally just talk about what I see. But there's good things to all these, right? These all can become like, this is like literally the chart of someone who can be who can like squares and oppositions are meant to be overcome. Like as souls, we choose all of these and we decide, I want to take on this energy. I want to take on this karma, which is shown through God's language, astrology, right? And in this sense, I believe that we don't take on anything that we can't handle, right? So it can make someone who is very, very, very intuitive and who is endlessly compassionate, and will just go the extra mile to really do something good for someone that they might not even know. There can also be like a feeling unworthy of kindness or companionship, where you might even sacrifice your own individuality, which as an Aquarius rising is like obviously so important, just to be with someone. There can be like, abuse or violence in relationships. And the best way like with this is to just be super honest and straightforward with people. This can create the kind of energy where like when you're telling the truth, people don't believe you, but then when you're lying, like people believe you, like kind of weird energy like that. So it's all about just being like super, super honest and yeah, not playing victim. But yeah, overall it gives like tons of generosity, like all this Neptune energy, like a wonderful imagination. People can people can kind of see you as naive, and you may have like felt like literally like an alien during your childhood. Because like this Neptune energy is like that. It's like that otherworldly like alien energy, like that in Uranus, right? So it's all about like learning to trust yourself and to find yourself within this world. And like self-image is what your whole chart is asking you, right? Which is very difficult when you have all this Neptune energy. But then also you can be very brave, especially as a Leo, and take stands for things that really matter to you as a Leo, Aquarius rising, right? Aquarius rising people, they beat to the beat of their own drum. Even if Neptune is squaring it, it's still, it still doesn't hold back the fact that it is an Aquarius rising. It is you are someone who, where'd it go? Yeah, you are someone who, who is, like very unique, very individualistic, very non-conformist. Maybe it will show like in the way you dress yourself, the way you go through life will not be just like trying to be like the cool people or whatever, or the people that the normal people will be very different. Now, back to the moon in Taurus, I feel like with your chart, like this is, like, and I'll get back to like all the squares, right? So this, like, you know, if you have like a lame astrologer who doesn't really know astrology, just like makes like nice Instagram posts, not to be bitter, just I know that tons of them exist. You know, they might not even focus on this most important part of your chart, which is the Neptune, right? Or so far what I see is very important. So, you know, in this case, it's like, you know, it's also your 10th house Neptune. Like, we'll have to talk about that a little bit later, but that's because it's such an important part. But overall, it's kind of saying that, like, when you can give yourself, like, be very sacrificial, very compassionate, and find a career and dharma, like an overall life purpose that meets that fills those needs, that you know, can really break a lot of this confusion and really help you see who you are at a better level. But yeah, so having the moon in Taurus, you know, with some nice aspects from Saturn and from Uranus and from Pluto, it's just going to create someone who, even with all of this, you know, Taurus moons, they do, so this could be your saving grace, right? Because like Taurus moons, they do have this ability to really like tune into themselves and yeah, kind of check in through like live life through the senses, and like just in a vacuum, which obviously astrology isn't done in a vacuum, it's in the whole context of the chart. They're able to really be their own, like they're able to really, like, even though they can be very stubborn, they can wake up each day and feel like it does help with the self-esteem stuff, right? Like with like the ability to see yourself, like Taurus moon by itself is the kind of person that like can be very consistent in life. They can wake up each day and be like, and you know, which is very contradicting to the Neptune stuff I'm talking about, but just by itself. So there's probably like a push and pull between this, right? Like it would be way more difficult if you had like a Pisces moon or a Cancer moon or something like that, right? Scorpio moon, especially. Yeah, if you had a Scorpio moon, which, yeah, like I guess like, and like the Neptune was like opposite it, yeah, that'd be very difficult. But yeah, so I think what's happening is like it's really this chart is like a no choice, like find spirituality chart, you know. And you know, nothing is meant to really be bad in astrology. Fatalism, astrologers who are too fatalistic, like it's not good. It's not a good way to be, because that's not how life works. That's not how God works. You know, we each have our chart, which is like the hand we're dealt, the cards we're dealt, and then we're able to play the game of life with that hand. And sometimes the people that have the easiest hand get very complacent, get lazy, and don't do anything with their lives, while the people that have difficult hands feel a real sense of purpose and a real sense of like karmic achievement, right? Once they're able to get past some of the more difficult aspects of their karma. Like they feel like, wow, I overcame a bunch of karma in this lifetime. Holy schmoly. So yeah, more on the Neptune. So the fact that it's square the sun, you know, I talked about that. That's more like an identity crisis. You know, issues with relationships. It can make it really hard. It can make it so someone, that Leo energy is very hard to unleash. Like lots of battles that you have to overcome in order to really feel strong and confident. It can make it so like you're a very sensitive and caring person, but you probably don't really feel like that much of a Leo. Like you probably feel more Piscean. Also with this, you can definitely, like, and with this, the moon opposition, like fall victim to injustices, that, and just like little things that can like erode, like kind of further erode your self-esteem and confidence. And there can be lots of like, yeah, confusion, paranoia, and you know, like have to watch out for the drugs and alcohol stuff. And also with this, you tend to be forced to deal with this all this energy from an early age. It can make someone very gullible, so stronger personalities can kind of dominate you, and you can kind of be like this chameleon energy, trusting too easily, like especially when it comes to relationships potentially. And there can be this like yeah, this feeling of like taking on other people's guilt. Almost like you're like wearing like a label around your neck that says like pick on me, or like I'm guilty, or something like that, right? So yeah, there's lots of scandal that can happen with this, right? But you know, the point of it is that at some point you get backed into a corner and you have to just like have your own back. You have to stand up for yourself. And yeah, battling against the odds, right? Is a huge archetype of this. And because of that, you end up being like very like compassionate for like the people who are, you know, having hardships in their own life. Like once you're able to kind of get past it on your own, and then you start to really, you know, want to fight for just causes and things that you really believe in, social causes, especially as an Aquarius rising. That's like going to be a big part of kind of your outer personality and your like how you present yourself in the world. And yeah, when you are of service, you can really confront lots of your own fears and phobias, and like the different delusions and all that stuff. So yeah, it's all about like improving like self-doubt, like I guess removing self-doubt, I guess you could say. It's also really important to your physical health, right? So like doing things like pushing yourself to do physical stuff. So because like what can happen is Neptune can make one feel like they just have like way less energy, right? So you have to really be careful around, yeah, what you put in your body, and kind of how. That's why like I think that one person that in that blog was like I was a vegetarian, because like it's like, I mean they obviously didn't have, I think one of the persons had like lots of Neptune transits, but like yeah, you have so much Neptune that's like, it's like very much like, you know, you probably feel like if you're not like really on board and like consistent, like things can really fall apart. But yeah, it's very, very good for creative entertainment careers like music, literature, poetry, whatever it is. Once again, the whole thing with cameras and mirrors is huge. Even if other people find it strange, there's a mysterious like link between that and Neptune. Also, you know, this can be someone who's very interested in all things esoteric, spiritual, you know, someone who has no fear, who sees through, and who has like this intuitive knowledge of like who's a good astrologer, like who's a good tarot reader, like who's a good teacher for them, that kind of thing. So yeah, then the fact, you know, that it is opposite moon. You know, the moon, this is probably the most difficult one, because the moon rules the emotions. So that just speaks about like mental confusion, right? Confusing feelings and problems in your life. And it really need like this is like one of these aspects in astrology that takes a high level of self-awareness to deal with, right? Because it's your moon, so this would indicate that there's issues on both sides, from father and mother. But maybe when, you know, moon Neptune square or opposition, like I think that like you can take on lots of like your mother's like psychological baggage potentially. Like there's like this real oversensitivity, which can be turned into it's a double-edged sword, right? But yeah, it's like the main difficulty comes from that imagination, and imagining things that are not real, right? Like you like especially with the square of Mercury, like someone says something random to you and you like just like, how are you doing today? You just like misinterpret it and overanalyze it. And I think you have Mercury retrograde too. Yeah, you have Mercury retrograde too. So there's this huge tendency to be like a very, very like over analytical person, right? So yeah. Also there can be like lots of like issues around like romance, and like kind of like potentially like an example is like thinking someone's into you who's not, like maybe like someone or like it can create confusion around that as well. So deception, right, is the big thing here. So yeah, you have to really watch out for energy vampires. That's a huge thing with the Neptune energy, right? Is like really watching out for people who might be trying to deceive you, and like your psychic impressions can be very misleading. So what you have to watch out for like cults and stuff like that. People who are like trying to work you in that way. And yeah, it's just like there can be like mental illness, definitely with moon opposite this position. Alcoholism is common, but like the thing is, once you have this this conscious realization of like how Neptune is like, I don't think I've never seen a chart that has Neptune like afflicting this much. It's not a bad thing, like I said, like I'll talk about, like it can be really turned into a good thing. It's like it's just all about like the conscious realization that is the first step, and people sometimes overlook how much just knowing about something can change it, right? So that's huge. So yeah, it can be really good in terms of partnerships to have like someone around you with a best friend or a partner who is more, like, and you do have the Taurus moon, like I said, which is like kind of your saving grace because it does give this kind of groundedness and some pushback against this Neptune energy. But like, yeah, having a partner who is really like a solid rock, someone who, I say this to a lot of my clients, I've realized, because a lot of my clients are kind of like me, the wild ones, the ones who take on difficult karma and are kind of different, right? But yeah, having someone who's very, very trustworthy, and I think your Venus was in Capricorn 29 degrees, so everything relationship wise, or no, in Libra actually, or in Virgo, excuse me. So yeah, it's going to be very, very karmic, and regardless, like your relationships, but there's like definitely this earth element to things where on one end you're really looking for, like, you're very relationship oriented, which could have gotten you in trouble earlier because it could, like everything I've said so far. But then on the other end of the spectrum, the Libra Mars, at 20, both your Mars and your Venus are at 29 degrees, which is super, super crazy, and basically is saying that you're at this like real karmic completion when it comes to the Venus and the Mars archetype, and they square each other. No, they don't. It's impossible. I saw that wrong. There's one sign. They're actually exactly like semi-sextile. They're one sign away, 30 degrees away. So there is a flow between them, right? To the degree. I'll share the chart again. So I need to get a haircut so bad. Yeah, so here, so basically, like, yeah, that part of the chart, is very much based on like the love life, kind of how on one hand, like, Taurus moon with all the Neptune, it's like you need to be with the right kind of person, someone that you trust like so fucking much, like, and you'll have lots of karma, like your Venus is square Jupiter, which I consider to be the best square in astrology, which means anything with Venus and any contact between Venus and Jupiter, in my opinion, is good. And I would say that will give you lots of luck when it comes to relationships. Maybe not all the time, maybe not when like once you learn self-love and once you get past the really difficult energy, like maybe you have had really difficult energy in relationships, but you really want someone who, like, maybe you spend the start of your life like going for a certain type of partner, and then you just go for the complete opposite after. But with that said, with everything I've said about your chart, you do have a really, really close aspect. One of the closest ones down here is 0.12 away between Jupiter, in Jupiter. So you have a lot of luck. So even though there's like lots of difficult energy, Jupiter is trining your sun exactly, which is just like just pure luck, like expansive, optimistic energy, right? So even if bad things happen, you have this like amazing luck, which is very good for popularity too. And it's doing the exact same thing, trining your midheaven, right? So basically, I don't know the name of that aspect pattern, but it's a very good one. And it's kind of like pushing away, like it will give you like a lot of opportunity and like social opportunity and perspective when it comes to like actually facing these problems. So that's actually really, really, really positive and massive actually. And it's also, you know, having the same effect on all your angles, your midheaven. So yeah. Was it midheaven? No, it was descendant. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, a chart like this, you know, it's lacking water also. You know, there's no water. There's not one water planet. So when you lack water, meaning the inner planets, you can. It's not like you don't have emotions, but it's like you can lack that like intuition, that compassion. But you do have so much Neptune energy that's like, I think, you know, that like once you like are able to channel the higher Neptune energy, that's pure water. It kind of pushes all that away. So it's really like through the hard work, you really increase your intuition, and you really increase your ability to I guess you could say, see through the illusions, right? Which is what this last full moon was all about. But yeah, I definitely see the chart as someone who is pushed karmically into like a very spiritual life of karmic completions. So back to what I was saying with the Venus and Mars at both at 29 degrees, it's like you're completing cycles, karmic cycles as it relates to love and relationships. You know, but back before I go into that, I want to just continue with like kind of the stuff I was saying about the love, is that you're going to want someone who is very, very consistent in terms of their. God, my cat just pushed over so much stuff. Headaches, bad boy. Esme, don't go there. Anyways, so yeah, that's very, very important, is to really like full trust, like you know, of course, like everyone wants someone exciting, but for you it's like way more important to have someone who, like, you know, being a Leo yourself, like once that Leo gets unlocked, you're definitely able to be that gregarious, like fun, sunny person, right? And maybe you always are that way, because Neptune isn't going to be like Saturn where it's going to like prevent you from shining and all that stuff like that. It's just, it would have more of an energy where you know, it might just like make you too prone to confusion and to taking on the wrong people and all the stuff I mentioned. I'm not going to go further into it. So yeah, definitely like fourth house moon also would indicate that, like, you know, you really want to have a family, you really want to, and Jupiter in the fifth house is very, very good for children, and for like North Node there, like maybe you're karmically like meant to have children, and you'll have lots of a beautiful expansive, it could be like a life-changing experience if you do have children, and to like have like, you know, really like there's emotional needs, like have like that family and you know, be more in touch with your kind of like inner self, right? Because like, you know, your south node being like you're kind of like who you've been in a past life, you know, you actually have your midheaven in a very on a fixed star, Antares. Am I still on share? Yeah. So let's see how close that is. It's between 0.010 and 0.015. Okay, so yeah, it's very close. It's within 0.20. So yeah, midheaven conjunct Antares is very, very, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's very promising for you know, your career, for you know, like it kind of creates like a boss energy. So very entrepreneurial. It's like the hidden knight. So it can create someone who you know, it's one of the four royal stars of Persia, right? But Antares is a more like militant one, right? So when you have it really, really close to the midheaven, it can create lots of honor and good fortune. mental alertness, a real strategic ability, and like lots of courage and daredevil energy. So it's like really, really good for success. Like Pablo Escobar is a perfect example of a chart I did recently that had his midheaven conjunct Antares. And the fact that you have your south node there, I don't really look at south node conjunct fixed stars. I don't really think anyone, I mean, I don't know, do people look at that? I mean, I've never read any delineations of it, but I mean, from because it's not a planet, but from this sense, like if it resonates, there could be like past life memories of being like kind of that Pablo Escobar kind of, just like that kind of like the boss of the underworld, like very, very kind of like past life kind of high honor energy, which you could definitely take into this life because your south node is with your midheaven. But also it's saying that in past lives there's a tendency to be too much obsessed with like your success in the outer world. And in this life, you're really meant to kind of go further in and work on yourself on an inner level, right? With all the Neptune energy, on an emotional level, on a spiritual level, right? Because the antidote to difficult Neptune is it's like the quote, like the drug addict and the mystic swim, exist in the same waters. The drug addict drowns while the mystic learns to swim in them. That's kind of the quote that could totally go with that, the energy that I see here. Okay, so one other thing I want to check out really quickly. So yeah, the fact that Venus in Virgo, 29 degrees, 29 degrees can make it kind of almost like act like a retrograde planet. It can make one a little bit like overly obsessed and very, very overly analytical when it comes to relationships and love. And you just have to watch out for like being kind of too obsessed with finding the perfect partner, right? Because no one's ever gonna be perfect, and that's kind of what will happen, right? And yeah, so that's very important. But Virgo and Venus, you're gonna definitely, your love language will probably be through actions. And it's all in the 8th house. So your 8th house is a very interesting part of your chart because this is speaking to your desire to like go through this death, rebirth, and transformation, especially in terms of like your relationship style and like how you love yourself first of all, because that is the biggest connector of everything. Like Venus literally is how you love yourself, and then it gets projected outwardly. So if you're having issues with relationships, it's completely correlated to self-love and being okay. Self-love, I think of it as like a good way to gauge it is like if you're okay being single. Of course, everyone wants to have good relationships, but like people who have self-love, in my opinion, they honor themselves and they have self-compassion, all this and that. Yeah, Pluto and Uranus there, potentially there can, be some type of like inheritance that or some benefit from other people's resources, but it's a very spiritual placement, both of these. So this is like someone who benefits a lot from the occult and the esoteric, and who can have like extremely sudden changes in life through joint ventures. And really, really fascinated by like metaphysics and the deeper side of life, right? And the vertex is doubling down that. You might have like chance encounters, fate encounters of people with Virgo energy. So that could be like, maybe energy that's very attracted to you. And you'll be someone in relationships who's very, very dependable, and you'll expect the same back. Now, I'm looking for some information. 1 second. Okay. One second. So you have Hades, which I have not studied. conjunct your moon, and I'm trying to find some information on this. And is this really what I'm thinking? Is the Hades moon power plant found through almost 90% of my clients? One second. I think Hades moon refers to Pluto conjunct. Wait, Leo moon square Scorpio Pluto. I think it's just like the moon. Any aspect between Pluto and your moon, your chart. Oh, so that's what it is. Okay, so yeah, Hades moon, it just refers to anything scorpionic or plutonic about your chart. Now I'm looking for something way different. So like Hades astrology. Let's see if I can find anything on this. So yeah, a lot of people say it functions quite a bit like Pluto. Let's see if I can find anything about moon. Okay. The vibe I'm getting is like very, very dark, very, very like into like researching the esoteric and not dark in a bad way, just like very like in tune with the darker sides of reality, like very like kind of like and it is, you know, like you know, like the opposite sign of Scorpio, Taurus, so very witchy energy, very serious, very, very, very like you're very, very like non-surface level. Lots of like inner intensity for sure. Okay. Okay, I think I found something. Okay. I love how I love learning through my readings. Like it's so fun. Like about different stars and stuff like that. So you do have Hades in Taurus. It's just showing celebrities that have it. That's not cool. It corresponds to intellectual rigor, service rendered to people, the purpose of being useful. On the downside, it leads to carelessness, indifference, apathy, and mess. Hypothetical trans-Neptunian planets, names all of them. The existence of which is not proven, were invented by Alfred White, founder of the famous Hamburg School, blah, blah, blah. The position of these bodies is seen from the Earth, and the place of birth is establishing a connection of the system of coordinates, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So yeah, it's basically intellectual rigor, service rendered to people, which you talked about a lot in your chart already. The purpose of being useful, which is such a huge thing for you, right? Being useful in a spiritual way on the downside leads to carelessness, indifference, apathy, and mess. So it just goes so well with what I've said already, right? So well. And it's at the 13-degree point, which I just had intuition to look up. Okay. Menkar. So yeah, when you have, and then it adds Menkar. Menkar is an asteroid there. Moon conjunct Menkar leads to mental anxiety, hatred of the vulgar, ill will of women, danger from thieves, sickness. Well, these are very old delineations, by the way. Loss of marriage partner or near relative, legal losses potentially, inheritances. This is legacies, inheritances attended by much evil. Okay. And then the other one, Almach, which is closer, just as close, says well, Edgar Casey had it, who's like a huge psychic, and this one seems like very, very about good fortune and success, and it's not giving any information on the moon, but it's a Venus one, so it gives honor, eminence, and artistic ability. So you have both of those, so that can also speak to that very Taurian Venus side of you. Okay, back to the chart. Let's get rid of all these. So super interesting stuff. So yeah, Venus, where it is, you're going to go through like very intense, the relationships you go through are very, very intense, very transformational, probably dramatic. And you're here to go through like the death, rebirth, and transformation, but also the breaking of disillusion in the higher spirituality. So it's a very, very high chart of a marker of a very advanced soul, someone who's not come here to muck around, right? And the fact that you have the square with the moon and the sun, that speaks further to this. And then also, not only the moon, the sun, and ascendant are all fixed and all square. So we have to talk about that stubbornness that comes from that, right? Extreme stubbornness can come, and also, there's a trine between Mars and the ascendant, which can be very, I was going to say it could be good for assertiveness, but then you have your Mars in Libra, which is literally the most indecisive placement in astrology, and you're probably giggling right now, because Mars Libras are super indecisive. But like overall, yeah, that chart, like from what I've seen so far, it's just like very much like there's lots of energies. I highly suggest getting a follow-up session. We have so much to talk about. But yeah, there's a lot of like balancing that needs to happen, which when I see a chart like this, I think, okay, it could be a bit of a mess, but sometimes when there's charts like this, it's meant to be like that, so that the person just like goes within themselves, finds that grounding, whether it's meditation, yoga, like high spirituality, and they literally like it's like a chart that's like meant to be overcome, to be like overridden, right? To be like, yeah. So yeah, North Node conjunct IC. I mean, that's basically, once again, like, you're also probably meant to connect on some level with your ancestors, and I see it like you might be like one of the people in your family who's meant to like break some level of generational trauma, some like maybe cycle that's gone around in your family for a while. But karmically, it's like, yeah, it's like there's definitely been more of like a past life impetus, or like, it's been more important, and there's been the balance, like there's been way more on the external life, the power, the high philosophy, and not enough on like the everyday little things, and the spreading of ideas and communicating, which is with your Jupiter sign is also, right? Jupiter being the energy that expands, right? So when it's